But we're not going to talk about moo cows and fresh milk right now. We're going to talk about weeds, because this time of year people, the phones are ringing, people have yards, lawns full of weeds, but that's not what we want to address right now, is it? Not the ones that are there. What can we do now so that our lawn will look better in the summer, Tony?
Well, those weeds that are there now, Amanda, already have seed on them. They're already flowering. They're producing their seed for next year's crop of weeds. So really, usually they die when it gets hot, so it's just mow it a few times. But the weeds that's going to come up in the summer, it's going to try to take over yard towards the end of the summers with, like Lespedeza, like spurges, things like that will come up and grow during the summertime. That's what we want to prevent now by using a pre-emergent herbicide.
And Tony, even though we don't notice those weeds until later on in the summer, they actually start growing about now, don't they? And they stay little for a while.
That's right. Most wheat seed are so small you can't hardly see them with your eyes. So they're so little, when they come up you don't even see them, and people don't pay no attention to them until they take over the yard in the middle of summer.
Now, a pre-emergent herbicide, we know there are lots of post-emergent herbicides, those three-way mixes and all. You have to be so careful putting those out, but I believe a pre-emergent works entirely different and maybe much safer.
That's right, Amanda. What a pre-emergent does is stop those weed seed from emerging up out of the soil. That's why it's called pre. Pre, which means before, emergence means coming up out of the soil. So it prevents them from coming up, Amanda.
So it does something when that little seed starts to germinate, something happens and it prevents the process from continuing.
That's right. The only thing you have to watch out with these, if you're overseeding your yard or something, you have to wait a while usually after you apply them to overseed.
Well, Tony, we've got a lot of different bags up here and a lot of different bottles and all. Tell us what all that means. How do we select one?
There's two major ways you can do it. You can either put it out with a granular and use a spreader such as these two, or either you can spray it, which is what we have over here. We've got a sprayer that you can spray with, and this is one of the materials out front that you can mix up in water and spray on your yard.
All right. Now, I was reading this one and it said you'd put 200 pounds per acre, and I had about a quarter acre I wanted to treat, and so I figured that's 50 pounds.
Which is what the bag is.
Now, how do I get that spread out evenly, Tony?
Well, what I like to do, Amanda, instead of trying to set that spreader,
it's hard to set that spreader.
real precise. What I usually do is just take it and put it about half or a small amount and go one way and then go back the other way, and if I have any left, I might even go diagonal.
Okay. So what we want is to have good, smooth coverage. So instead of trying to make just one pass, go back and cross yourself over.
That's right. And that way you don't have a checkerboard yard either.
And then, now I understand that sometimes you've got to, if it doesn't rain, do you need to sometimes provide irrigation?
All of your pre-emergents need to be incorporated by some type of irrigation or rain or something to get it into the soil. So if you don't do that, you actually lose it within a few days.
Oh, so it's important if it doesn't rain.
Especially
to put that
one here. This is treflan. That's treflan in, trefluorine, and it dissipates real quickly. So you need to get it out there and get it watered in the same day if you can.
Whoa, that's important. Now, Gary Forrester, who's one of our fellow extension agents and knows a real specialist on turf and all that, because down there at Myrtle Beach with all those golf courses, he says if you've got a big weed problem, that sometimes you need to actually reapply it the same season.
That's right. You can do it twice in the spring and twice in the fall. And what they usually cover about 8 weeks or so. So if you put it, this year, I thought it was going to be early because the forsythia started flowering real early, and then it got real cold for a while. And that kind of set everything back into the normal clock. Okay. And usually about March the 1st is usually our time for the middle part of South Carolina to put it on. So 8 weeks after that, 2 months later, put out another application.
Okay. Well, and before we leave and go back to the phones, let's talk about what we don't want to get that's in the stores right now, and that is
one that contains fertilizer.
Weed and feed.
Yep. You don't want anything with a fertilizer in it now because really the grass is not growing real well, Amanda. It needs to have the roots growing and the tops growing and just greening
to take that fertilizer up.
To take and utilize that fertilizer. If you don't, it will be leached away and be a pollutant.
Be a pollutant. Okay. Well, I think that a lot of us can save ourselves a lot of trouble down the road by doing things in a timely manner. And Tony, I want to thank you so much much for helping us understand pre-emergent fertilizers. Call your Clemson Extension office if you have questions. Any of us would be glad to help you with that.